Welcome to Delivering Miracles, a podcast to teach women like you tips and strategies on how you can have a safer pregnancy so you can bring home a healthy baby. I'm your host and your high-risk pregnancy expert, Parijat Deshpande. I can't wait to chat with you. I am so upset right now. I don't even know what to tell you. I just got off the phone with a woman who shared the most, oh my God, I don't even know what the word is. I'm so upset. She shared the story with me about what she'd been through with a previous pregnancy. And she's pregnant again now, and so she's reaching out for support. But she told me about what happened with her previous pregnancy, and I just cannot wrap my head around this. So she was about 17, 18 weeks pregnant, and she PPROM'd, meaning her water broke at 17 or 18 weeks, somewhere in there. And her doctor said there's nothing that they can do, which, you know, if you know anything about pregnancy, which I know you do, 17 weeks is extremely early to have your water break. And so her doctor just said, okay, well, there's nothing you can do. We're just going to have to wait until you deliver, basically. And that's all there is to it. And for the most part, majority of the women who PPROM that early, that's what happens. But it's not 100%. It's not 100%. And that is something that I feel so strongly about getting across to anyone and everyone who is pregnant, is there's nothing in the field of obstetrics that is 100% guarantee that will work or won't work, or will go a certain way or won't, right? So anytime, especially in situations like this, anytime I have a client who says, my doctor tells me that there's no hope for the baby, or I have to do a surgery, or I have to do anything major that's life-altering, you have to get a second opinion. You have to. I think I did a whole episode about getting second opinions, right? And this doctor, oh my God, my blood is boiling, seriously. This doctor told her that she couldn't get a second opinion. I mean, first of all, who the heck is this person to say she can't get a second opinion? That is completely her choice. That is not this doctor's choice whatsoever. And I mean, who is this person to say that? It is her choice. As the patient, it is her choice whether she wants to get a second opinion or not. But hey, think about what the situation that she was in. She had just been told, her water had just broken at 17, 18 weeks. She had just been told that she was going to lose this baby. Of course she's not thinking straight. And so she believed him that there's nothing she can do and she can't get a second opinion. Now, again, based on the statistics, likely she would have lost the baby anyway. But think of the peace of mind she could have gotten to know that she could have spoken with somebody else, probably somebody a little bit more supportive, compassionate, able to guide her through what was about to happen. Oh my gosh, I can't even believe this. And the thing is, I hear stories like this all the time, where women believe or they're told that you can't get a second opinion or you can't do certain things. I had a client who was pregnant for the second time, and the first time around, she had a C-section. I can't remember if it was an emergency C-section or if it was planned. I don't think it was an emergency C-section, but she had a C-section nevertheless. And the second time around, she wanted a vaginal birth. She wanted a VBAC, vaginal birth after cesarean. And her OB said, no, that's not an option. What do you mean that's not an option? Oh my God. It is always an option. Maybe it's not the best option. Maybe it's not the option that you recommend. And so it's important for this client to learn and to hear her doctor out, of course. But the doctor does not decide what's an option for you or not. You do. Oh oh my gosh, are you kidding? And here's the thing that really drives me nuts, is that in both of these cases, these women didn't think that they could fire their doctor or get second opinions or get third opinions. They didn't think that. And there's nothing wrong with these women. We're built to believe, we're designed to believe, not by nature or anything, but we're just kind of conditioned to believe that our doctors know everything. And that, especially in a situation that gets so dire, that's so scary, that's so stressful, that we have to trust everything that they say because they're the doctor. But I'll tell you this, from working with women with high-risk pregnancies day in and day out, I will tell you very honestly, half of the stress that my clients feel is because they don't understand their bodies, so they're not an active member of their medical team. Even the most vocal of my clients who think they're being active are not being active until they work with me and realize what that actually means and what that actually looks like. And it is absolutely not asking your doctor for permission for a second opinion, I'll tell you that much. Now, I know what you're thinking, right? You're hearing this, you're probably going, what is her deal? She is so upset today. I'm upset because this is something that I'm very passionate about. You know, there's the mental health side of things, there's the emotional wellness side of things, there's the health side of things. But then this is another huge piece of the puzzle that I think we forget about when it comes to having a high-risk pregnancy, is that you have to be able to speak up, and you have to be able to speak up in a way that your doctor can hear you. Right? This is so much more than just taking notes at an appointment or writing your questions down the night before. It's, you've got to really internalize that this is your health and it matters what happens, and you can't leave it in the hands of somebody else. Now, I know what you're thinking. I don't have an MD. I didn't go to medical school. I don't know anything about medicine or pregnancy or really anything. Who am I to question what my doctor recommends? I just want to trust my doctor and do what they say. But don't forget, your doctor is only human. And medical professionals, even the Harvard-trained ones, make mistakes. And those mistakes impact you and your baby's life. But here's the thing. Your doctor is only human. And every doctor, even the Harvard-trained ones, will make mistakes. And it's possible for them to make mistakes. And those mistakes impact you and your baby's life. And it all comes down to this one thing. And it's one thing only, which is nobody cares about your baby as much as you do. Nobody will. Nobody does. Nobody did. So if you don't speak up, your baby doesn't have its loudest and most important advocate. So you've got to be an empowered patient during a high-risk pregnancy. You have to do it. There's no other option because there's nobody else that's going to fight for your baby as much as you will. The truth is, when you go home after a doctor's appointment, you go home wondering if you're ever going to bring this baby home. Your doctor goes home and has dinner with his or her babies, right? This is a job. And as much as they care and love you, and hey, I had a medical team that loved me to death. I mean, they still love us. We're basically friends now. All 500 of our medical professionals that helped me have a son at home. But hey, I had to be realistic here. In the end, this was their job. This was not their child. This was my child. And this is your child. So you have to speak up. So here are a few tips that I want you to take away from this episode on how you can be an empowered patient, okay? Number one is you have to prepare for every appointment. And what that includes, as you should know, is to write down all your questions before the appointment. Do not leave them to memory because you will forget. And I'll be honest with you, there are times, I think between my pregnancy and when my son came home from the NICU, I had something like 200 or 300 doctor's appointments in that year between fertility treatments and then my pregnancy and then him being in the NICU and then coming home. And then afterwards, his post-discharge care. 200 or 300 appointments. So you'd think I'd be good at this by now, right? But there are still times for my own appointments or for his appointments that I just get busy or I just forget, because there's so much going on and I don't write the questions down. Inevitably, I will walk out of that appointment with unanswered questions that will bug me because I just had my doctor's attention for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and I could have asked and I didn't. So don't skip this because this is going to set the tone for what happens the next day. So write it on your phone, pull out the notes app or write it on a piece of paper. Whatever it is, get it down, get it out of your head and have it in your hand so you can ask those questions in the appointment. Now, the second piece to preparing for every appointment is to keep those questions in your hand in the exam room. So even if you're sitting on the table, even if you've got your legs up in the stirrups, in a highly compromised position, not your best, not the most glamorous, totally fine, keep your phone in your hand. Because sometimes doctors like to talk while they're doing the exam or while they're doing the ultrasound. Sometimes doctors will want to talk to you beforehand or afterhand, but you don't want to be searching for the questions when you've got 10, 12, 30, 15, 20 minutes with this doctor. You don't want to be wasting that time looking for your questions. They're going to start brushing you off very quickly and they're going to start pushing you out the door. Okay, so keep them in your hand. When you're at the appointment, take notes. If you can't take notes and listen at the same time, I know some people prefer to just listen and taking notes can be distracting. Bring somebody with you to take notes. And if you can't do that either, ask your doctor to record the appointment. Just turn on the voice recorder on your phone. There's absolutely nothing that's happening in that appointment that they should say no to. And if they say no to that, you should really pay attention to that red flag because there is absolutely nothing that they should be saying that's going to be hurtful or harmful to their business whatsoever anyway, or which would be why they would shy away from the recording. It makes no sense. You just explain to them, hey, this helps me to remember what you talked about because I forget. I don't want to forget what you're saying. Right? So make sure that you're documenting what's happening in that appointment. Don't leave it to memory. Look, because I know you're already nervous, right? You go in for the ultrasound, you go in for the exam, you're wondering how long your cervix is, you're wondering how high the fluid levels are, what your blood pressure is. You're nervous. It's totally understandable. But when anxiety is high, it compromises your memory. It happens to everybody. And so if you know that ahead of time, get ahead of it. Prepare for every appointment and then take notes when you're there. The third thing, and I know I did a whole episode on this, so definitely check that out for more details, but you've got to get a second opinion if you disagree. If anything your doctor says sounds weird, sounds fishy, sounds incomplete, sounds different than what you'd wanted to do, get a second opinion. And you don't want to ask your doctor for a suggestion for where the second opinion is. You want to go completely outside of his or her circle so you can actually get an unbiased opinion on what's going on. And look, I know it's hard. That's the last thing that you want to do. You don't have time. You've got work. You've got home responsibilities. You've got all this stuff that's weighing on you. You've got other kids. Like, who has time for this? I get it. You don't have time for it. That's the answer. You don't have time for it. But the question is it worth the anxiety that you're going to have sticking with this doctor and not getting all the answers just because you don't have time? It's fully inconvenient, absolutely. But think of the benefit of knowing that you can have more confidence in your care for yourself and for your child that you're growing inside of you by doing it, right? And the last thing is, and this is something I think we don't talk about enough, there's some kind of like weird taboo about it. I don't know why. It happened even in the mental health world, because it applies to therapists too. And I would fully just tell people this, even as a therapist, when I was practicing as a therapist, which is you need to fire your provider if you feel like you're not getting the best care possible. Seriously, it's that simple. I know it's not practically simple. I know it takes a lot, but you have to walk away and say, I am not being treated by you anymore because I disagree, or you're not listening to me, or you've made a mistake, or I don't like your bedside manner, I don't like your approach. You are the patient, which means you are hiring your doctor to provide you prenatal care, right? Think about when you hire a gardener, or you hire an accountant, or you hire, I don't know, what else do people hire? Chefs, or a mechanic, right? You hire them for their expertise, and then say the gardener like chops down your favorite tree, or doesn't show up for 3 weeks and your grass is all overgrown, or your accountant misses a zero and suddenly you owe like 10 times more taxes. What would you do? You wouldn't say, oh, well, I'm too busy, so I'm not going to, I'm just, okay, fine, I'll just stick with it, but I don't like it. You wouldn't do that. You would fire them and you'd go find somebody else, right? This is your health and your baby's health that's in your hands. When else is it the right time to fire the person that you have hired? When else is better than right now? You know, it's hard, I get it, because we have this society where we have built up doctors to be like gods, right? Which the internet is kind of cutting down a little bit, because there's so many patients that are coming so informed. You know, you have access to journal articles, scientific research, and just generally talking to more people. So you have anecdotes that you can come back to your doctor with and say, hey, I heard that blah, blah, this person tried blah, blah, blah treatment. What do you think? I mean, yeah, patients are becoming a little more informed about that, but there's still this underlying feeling that doctors are gods, and when you walk into the exam room, that they own the space and they know everything. And hey, look, I love doctors. Some of my best friends are doctors. I have tons of doctors in my family. But we've got to be honest and realistic about this, that is a profession like anybody else. And those professionals are ones that we hire and pay our hard-earned money to provide us with the best care possible. And if you're not satisfied with that care for whatever reason, walk away and find somebody else who's going to provide you the care that you deserve. Okay? So quick recap. How you can begin to be an empowered patient. These are things that every single person must be able to do. If you have a high-risk pregnancy, you need to look at how you're addressing your prenatal care. Make sure you're doing all of these things if they're applicable to you. Number one, every single person should do this. Prepare for your appointment. Number two is to take notes at the appointment or record it if you can't take notes. Number three is to get a second opinion if you disagree. And number four is to fire your doctor and find a new one if you feel like you're not getting the best care possible. You have to be an empowered patient because your baby's life, your health depends on it. That's just how it is. It's really that simple. I know it's not easy to do, but it really is that simple. When you think of it that way, it can give you the motivation that you need to speak up and to demand that care that you deserve. Okay, so this is my favorite part of the show, and we haven't done this actually in a little while, but I got an email, yay, from a listener. I love getting emails from you guys, so shoot me an email if you have a question. You can email me at podcast@parijatdeshpande.com. But I got an email from a listener, and it fits right in with this topic that we're talking about today. She writes, "Hi, I'm having a baby. Dad is out of the picture, and so I'm doing this alone. I don't have insurance, so I'm on Medicare. I feel really disadvantaged and limited in the type of care I can get. I feel like the doctor treats me in a way where I should just be lucky to have them. How do I speak up? Because I'm scared if I say something, I will be viewed as a troublemaker and the doctor won't take care of me or my baby. And I definitely don't feel like I can ask questions or get what I want. Help. Jane." Jane. Oh my gosh. Thank you, first of all, for writing. Thank you for sharing what you did, because I know that this is an issue for a lot of women and a lot of couples. And I'll tell you, you know what? This actually reminds me of a question that came up a lot, even in the NICU, when my son was in there and, we made friends in the NICU, that we worried if we spoke up against the doctors, the neonatologists, or the nurses, what if they take it out on our child? And so I totally get that you'd be scared that if you speak up and your doctor doesn't seem to be open to that idea of having a patient that asks questions, what if they hold back on their prenatal care, right? I totally get that you asked that, and I'm glad that you did, because I know that's something a lot of people worry about. Couple of things I want you to keep in mind, Jane, is number one, the doctor doesn't do this work because most people, at least, most doctors don't do this work, especially in obstetrics, right? Because it's a really difficult field. I mean, getting up in the middle of the night 6-7 times a night. I have my best friend's dad is an OBGYN, so we get kind of the behind the scenes of what this is like. And this is not the field you want to go in if you just want to chill and make some money as a doctor, okay? Like, whatever that stereotype we have is, this is not the field where they do it. They work really hard. And so they don't do this work based on how much they like you. There are plenty of doctors and patients who do not get along personally. Maybe there's a personality conflict or there's just a communication difference, whatever. Your doctor's in this field because he's very passionate about helping you stay pregnant and having a healthy pregnancy so you can deliver a healthy baby. And so I promise you, and this is something that I remember being told in the NICU too, is how they feel about you is not going to impact how they care for you as a professional. And if they do, you need to walk away immediately. But for the most part, that's not going to happen, because they wouldn't be in this field if it was that influenced by personality conflict. It just doesn't work that way. So I can almost guarantee you that even if your doctor is like, oh my gosh, who is this lady who keeps questioning me like she's so annoying, that's not going to affect his ability to actually care for you or your baby. And so you should not feel any repercussions of that. And of course, again, if you do, you have to leave immediately, but you likely will not feel that way. The second thing I want you to remember, and this is for all of you listeners who are listening in and feel like your income level affects how much you can speak up. Look, just because you're low income or on Medicare or don't even have insurance, whatever that is, that doesn't mean that you don't deserve the best prenatal care possible at all. So you may feel like you can't speak up, but you can. And the best thing for you is to take somebody with you, okay? Take someone with you so you feel confident. You know that you've got somebody on your side. Take somebody who you know is going to speak up with you too if you feel really nervous about it. But your background means absolutely nothing for the type of care that you deserve. And if you feel like your doctor is being impacted by that, you've got to find another doctor. And I know with Medicare it can be hard, but it's not impossible. So you can do it, okay? Thank you again so much for your question, though, and I know a lot of women are going to be really happy to hear about your experience, and just know that they're not alone in feeling that way too. you've got to be an empowered patient. You have to. When you have a high-risk pregnancy that requires additional care, extra support, when it's affecting your health or your baby's health, especially in those cases, you have to be empowered to speak up, to question your doctor, and to demand the best care possible. Because it can make such a tremendous difference when it comes to how you experience your high-risk pregnancy. It can make such a tremendous difference. I have a friend who was pregnant for the second time, and she had a great OB. She loved her, and then the OB left the practice in the middle of her pregnancy. So she's like, well, I guess I'll just stick around with this practice since they've already got my medical information and my chart and everything. So she stuck with her, met a new, and started being followed by a new OB. And this OB was super dismissive. Like, he didn't like being asked anything. He didn't like the appointments taking very long. He was just kind of like brushed her off when she was worried about something. Like, you know the kind of doctor I'm talking about. The one that just really is like, why are you doing this again? Don't you know me? Have you looked in my eyes today, right? And she didn't like it because she had questions about her delivery experience. She had questions about her birth plan. She wanted to deliver on her terms in a way that's most comfortable to her. And she's a very intelligent woman, so she was willing to talk to her doctor about options. She wasn't just going to demand that it go a certain way, especially since she'd already delivered once before. She knows that it's not completely in her control, but she wanted to have that conversation and she couldn't. He just wasn't up for it. So she left. She left the entire practice in the middle of her pregnancy. She was not happy about it. It was extremely inconvenient. She started crowdsourcing all of us, asking for who's our OB and where can she find a new one and who's taking new patients. It was not easy. But you know what happened when she did that? She delivered on her own terms, meaning she got to labor while walking around and being active. She got to labor on a birthing ball. She got to have a doula in the room with her. She got to practice laboring in a way that she had been really wanting to specifically. She got to go to the hospital a little bit later than her original doctor was recommending because she got to labor a little bit more at home. These little details, you know what those did? They're not just to make her feel better. It made her experience so powerful. She felt like such a powerhouse in that room when she was delivering her baby because it wasn't this setup that was designed by somebody else, that was dictated by somebody else, or that she just went along with because she felt like she couldn't say anything. She was able to create the experience that she wanted. Was it perfect? No. But it was hers. And that power, that empowerment, that confidence that she felt, that's what I want for you. And I know you can have it. You deserve to have an empowering pregnancy experience and birth experience, no matter what complications you're facing during your pregnancy. You absolutely deserve it. And being an empowered patient, speaking up, questioning your doctor, that's the way to do it. That is the only way to do it, and I know you can. Thank you so much for joining me here today. If you want to know more about the system that I take my clients through on how to become that empowered patient so you don't feel gross or pushy, but you still get the prenatal care that you deserve, I invite you to schedule a consultation. You can do that by visiting my website at parijatdeshpande.com. And I'd also love to stay in touch. So follow me on Twitter or on Instagram. And my handles for both are Parijat Desh. That's Parijat DESH. You're not helpless during your high-risk pregnancy. You're not voiceless, and you're not out of control. I know it can feel that way. But you are, and you should be, an empowered patient who's fighting for the best care possible for you and your growing child. You deserve it. Take it one day, one step at a time. You can do this.